Good morning, everybody. So this is What the Flock, episode, I think it's 7, could be 8. Ooh, yikes. Should have checked before I started recording. It's too late now. I'm Ethan. This is going to be a solo show this morning. We had a bit of a mess this week with some scheduling, entirely caused by me. So you're going to get about 40 unadulterated minutes of Ethan, and hopefully you stick around to watch this entire thing. So this is our pre-recorded show for this month. We are moving to 2 pre-recorded shows a month so that Emily can have Saturdays off, whole weekends off, as a matter of fact. I think it's really important that we take better breaks. So this is one of those experiments, because I am currently, as you're watching this, if you're watching it on the premiere, I'm not in Christchurch. So I'm away this weekend, catching up with some people, seeing my dog for the first time in forever, and attending CAN. I'm certain that I'm having a great time. I always do in the lovely Napier. Love being in the Hawke's Bay and catching up with all of the knitters there. We have some fun stuff in store for you, as in physically in the shop. There's always fun new things and cute stuff to come visit. There's a couple of things I want to tell you about that we have. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some ongoing projects, some of what's going on in the flock online, and show you my most recent finished object. It's not blocked. Didn't quite make it to BB's magical blocking floors yet. So we're gonna have some shorter segments today so that I can take a break, have a sip of water, and work through it. I hope all of you are having a wonderful day. The weather is beautiful outside today here in Christchurch, and I hope it is just as gorgeous for you this beautiful Sunday. So with all that preamble out of the way, let's take a quick second of a break. We will come back and I will keep talking to you about what's going on in my knitting life right now. The most important part about having a knitting podcast is talking about what you are knitting, obviously. I have finished a bunch of things recently, which is very exciting. Now, I am going away on a trip, which means I've been thinking a lot about travel knitting, which is going to be my main talking point at the end of this. But what I'm knitting right now is a sock. Oh my God. I haven't taken a lot of time over the past couple of years to knit socks. I've knit a couple of pairs here and there. One for a class, one for a friend for a gift, and the same friend ended up with both of the sets of socks that I've made in the last couple of years because I didn't pay attention and I didn't measure the sock that I was knitting, so I made it way too big for me. I actually have relatively small feet for how tall I am, and I regularly end up making these gargantuan socks that in no way, shape, or form fit. It's really nice to be knitting socks again. I really enjoy it, and it's a nice break from all of the big technical knitting and my own garment knitting and my own designing, and I've got a couple of designs that I really need to get out and some other stuff to start, but I'm taking some time to not procrastinate, but to palette cleanse and get my head back on straight before I dive into more knitting. And I thought socks were a perfect palette cleanser. It also ties into the fact that in Outlaw Online right now, one of my big year-long projects is to figure out the perfect sock for me. If there is a perfect sock, we're gonna find out. It's an exploration. So knitting explorations is a new thing that I'm doing in the Flock Online. The Flock Online is our online group. Please come join us if you want to. It's a wonderful experience overall. You can find that at theflockonline.co.nz. There'll be a link down below in the video. I would love for you to hop in and join us and become part of the Flock. You will find a community of committed and interesting crafters who are there to be there for the knitting, to discuss what's going on, to improve their techniques, to encourage each other, to see what's happening, to talk about their stashes. It's just a really beautiful place to be and an exciting place to be. If you're somebody who is passionate about this craft and wants to take it further, I think it's the right place to be for you. So in the Flock Online right now, I am starting this new group called Knitting Explorations. And in that group, what I'm doing is taking a longer form, more zoomed out approach to knitting. So making a series of projects connected by a common theme or other things like that, or focusing on a sole thing, is the purpose of this group. If you're in the Flock Online, you're welcome to post your own knitting explorations in there, to go on your own tangents and journeys. I think people would really love to follow along and see what your process is like. So feel free to jump in, be your own navigator on this journey, and tell us all about what you're learning. So I have decided to take a deep dive into socks through a possibly strange view, where I'm going to start with what I consider the most basic sock pattern. So this is the vanilla sock on Magic Loop. It's designed for Magic Loop. It's by Crazy Sock Lady. The yarn that I'm using is from Rebecca at Kiwi Yarna. It is a beautiful color. I love pink, in case that's not obvious, and I'm really enjoying this whole process of knitting socks in a pressure-free way, where it's just fun to get them knit, and as quick as they get done, they get done. Socks don't take me very long. If you're newer to sock knitting, you might find that it takes a hot minute, but socks really are a great thing because you can pick up and work a few rows on them a day and watch them grow. If you're somebody who struggles with task completion in your knitting, socks can really help because there's lots of little bits to finish. So first you make a cuff or a toe, depending on which way you're knitting. Then you knit a big boring chunk of stockinette, doesn't matter which way you're knitting. Then you make a heel. There's tons of different methods. Or you put in an afterthought heel, which you come back and you pick up and then you finish it at the end. Or you could be doing some sort of boomerang heel. I don't know. There's a lot of heels out there, and I intend to explore all of them in the next year. And I'm just excited to ignite my own curiosity about sock knitting and find things I didn't know before. What socks fit me best? Is there one sock pattern that will rule them all? Will I just knit the same sock for the rest of my life once I find that sock? Or do I just like sock knitting as a passive activity as part of my knitting? So I've already knit one of these basic socks and it came out really well. I very much like it. I've not blocked it yet. I don't tend to block my socks on sock blockers. I think this is a controversial take. The one thing about this sock is I've been doing lots of Kitchener stitch and grafting recently, but mostly grafting underarms or doing sewn tubular bind offs, and there's very specific tension that you want. And I did the grafting. I didn't weave in the end because something was looking a little funky about this toe to me. And I think what has gone on from examining the toe after the fact is I think that this toe has ever so slightly separated because I didn't pull the yarn quite as tight as I could have, because I'm used to doing Kitchener stitch in other places where you don't want it yanked all the way tight. You want it to match the tension of the sock, but the tension of a sock is yanked all the way tight. So I'm just gonna have to undo those 8 stitches and redo them, but it's no big deal because I haven't woven in the end. And you just pick up the stitches, undo the Kitchener stitch, you just pull it out and then redo it. It won't be a big deal. It'll take 5 minutes. I just haven't gotten there because I had a busy couple of days and rushed into work this morning as I was a little late. So that's what I'm doing on that front. I'm making a sock. I don't think I'll take this traveling with me. Weird thing, I don't like socks as a travel project. I've tried this before. I know socks are the best travel project. I recommend them to people as a travel project all the time, and other people love them. I hate traveling with socks. The needles are so small. I'm always worried that I'm gonna end up bending them. I tend to kind of shove my knitting into my bag. I don't like going through airport security with anything on me. Like, I will check everything if I can. I try not to take anything out that has to go out on the plane. So that's kind of how I run my life on a plane and on a travel schedule. So I don't anticipate that I will be taking a sock with me on this trip. Also, I'm almost finished, which might sound crazy, but once I get through the heel, it normally takes me only a couple of hours to finish a sock just by knitting it. So I'm just gonna tick away at this. I'll probably end up taking a hat and a cowl and a shawl as my travel projects. Hats and cowls and shawls are my favorite travel projects. I will not be taking my beautiful, absolutely wonderful What the Fade with me as my travel project because it is too many skeins of yarn. 6 skeins of yarn to travel with when they're big 100-gram fingering weight cakes and they're slippery and the cakes fall apart all the time, no matter how you've wound them. Not my ideal travel project. I do know what I'm taking with me, and I'm gonna show you that nearer the end because this is my current project technically. The other thing is we've been running a lace yoke knit along with our Wednesday night knit group. So our Wednesday night knit group meets here at the shop. We also once a month go online in, you guessed it, the Flock online, and you're always welcome to come join us there for that. And we get together and we talk about our knitting, we talk about our lives, we join in. And one of the things that has happened is the group themselves, not me, the group themselves, I think partially to try to torment me, organized a lace yoke knit along. So that's your ranunculus, your love note. Emily is doing the Lady Catkin pullover. There's tons of great ones out there by, you know, Midori Hirose. Tons. There's so many lace yoke pullovers. They exist. Trust me. Go look for them. So many were found when we were discussing this. Adelaide by Isabel Kramer is obviously one I'm fond of. And the one that I wanted to make anyway, regardless of the knit along, was Treit by Kate Davies. So this is my unblocked Treit by Kate Davies. It is a beautiful lace yoke pullover. I've done this in the Aspen 4-ply. The fabric that it has produced is really, really beautiful. I knit the 5th size, I believe, and it fits me really well, even unblocked. I wanted a slightly slimmer sleeve than usual, so I put about a centimeter of negative ease into the sleeve all the way up. That's really running a risk for me. My arms tend to get bigger and bigger, not smaller and smaller. And I know it's running a risk, but I love the aesthetic personally on my body of a fitted, long, slim sleeve into a lace yoke with an oversized body. I just like that combination of shapes, especially with the lace. It helps to make it feel more delicate and feminine to me personally. I also think that like a bishop sleeve, so something that comes down wider with a poof at the end, would also give you that same sort of effect, but from a different aesthetic principle. I like a feminine lace yoke jumper, and I'm not ashamed. I think that they look really, really pretty, and I like pretty things, and I want to wear pretty things. So that's why I get into doing them that way, because I just, it fills me with a lot of joy, and that's, I'm knitting for me, I'm not knitting for anyone else, so that's why I do that. Treit by Kate Davies, I would give this pattern a solid 7 out of 10. If you're watching from home and thinking to yourself, that's very harsh, Ethan, none of you are watching here, so you might be watching from home and thinking, that's not that harsh, Ethan. I do pattern reviews all the time. It's part of my lifestyle. Again, on the Flock Online, sorry, yikes. And one of the things that I like to talk about is pattern clarity. And I think that this pattern could be clearer. I don't love the layout. And there was a section in it where there was a letter repeat and then a specific instruction broken out for your size. If this was being published in a book, which it very well might have been, I don't know and don't remember, I think that kind of formatting makes sense. But in an era of digital pattern publishing, I think when there's specific sizing instructions given, it's easier just to break them into their own individual sizing. That's what I've started to do. My later patterns all feature that, my earlier patterns do not, but I learned and I changed. And this isn't a criticism. The pattern works really well. It will spit out a garment that looks exactly like the one she is wearing in the photos, especially if you pick the same color as her. And I chose a yarn that was very similar to the Malarkey Tweed. The Malarkey Tweed, which is Kate's yarn, is a single ply woolen spun tweeded yarn. This is in a fingering weight. This is a fingering weight or 4-ply construction woolen spun yarn from Wild Earth. This is the Aspen 4-ply in Cypress. And I got gauge on the needle as recommended in the pattern. And then I just went for it. I absolutely love it. Fits me really well. I'm thrilled. Can't wait to block it and wear it constantly for a little while, because that's what I do. I finish something and then I wear it all the time. Although I've been wearing this single malt nonstop pretty much since I made it. It is pilled, covered in pills just from sheer wear. That's it. That's my whole whips right now. Well, also the What the Fade. So I'm making a What the Fade. I'm running a What the Fade knit along. I'm in the garter stitch fade section. I literally just need to sit down and knit it. I kind of just don't want to. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. It's very well written, very easy to follow. It's Andrea Mowry. Go check it out on Ravelry. One of the most popular patterns of all time. We've got a couple of fade set left. Who knows if they'll still be here by the time you see this video. I loved it. I just kind of wish there was more brioche. The garter stitch is super boring and I'm not used to that. I'm guilty of being bad at garter stitch, like bad at just sitting there and knitting garter stitch endlessly. And I think that's pretty much that for what I'm knitting right now. That's what I've got on the go. And I'm gonna talk about travel knitting in our final segment. Next, I'm gonna give you some shop updates and some other fun stuff. So you can either skip ahead to the very end and watch my travel knitting update and what I'm taking with me for travel knitting, or stay tuned and find out what is going on at Get Flocked. So as you may or may not know, if you're watching this, and this is the 17th time you're finding this out, this will be unsurprising. I'm sorry, skip ahead. This podcast, What the Flock, is part of my business, Get Flocked. You can work that out from context clues. I'm sitting in my yarn shop. I wish this was my yarn room. In reality, my yarn room is the bottom half of my wardrobe at home, and anywhere that the person that I cohabitate with and I can possibly shove our yarn in the house where it's not just like overflowing or stacked on the dining room table. We fail at this frequently because we both love yarn and we live in a small house. But I am here at the shop. This is Get Flocked. We love it here. Please come visit us. We are located at 225 High Street in Christchurch. You will probably hear the tram going by in the distance, and most likely at some point there will be some sort of horrifying sound of construction, because there's a lot of construction, because our beautiful city of Christchurch is coming back into its full bloom. We're the Garden City, and we're happy to be blooming again. And I am thrilled to be here and be a part of the revitalization of the CBD of Christchurch. And we can't wait to welcome all of you into our city. Every business in Christchurch can't wait to welcome you to their city. And the people of Christchurch can't wait to see if you come for a visit. So come hang out. We're a good time. This little segment is about what's new at the shop. Before I tell you what's new at the shop, I need to ask you to do a couple of things. If you could click subscribe, I would be thrilled, because more subscribers means more people watching, means more people hear about it, and we can do more things. The more of you there are, the more things we can do, and we think that's beautiful. Number two, if you could hit, apparently there's some sort of notification bell I'm supposed to tell you to click. It could be here, it could be here, it might be over there. I really don't know because I haven't checked. And last and not least, because there's one more thing after this, there's apparently a like button as well. This is exhausting. Asking you to do this is exhausting. You must be tired if you're watching like multiple of these a day, and all of us are asking you to do this, but please do it for me and for everyone else. We're trying our best. The last and final thing that I will ask you to do is please leave a comment. Preferably kind and uplifting and hopeful, but also if you have questions, I would love to answer them. And we're gonna start expanding what we're doing here a little bit, because we're doing more pre-recorded stuff, which is great. So as part of that pre-recorded stuff, we're gonna be able to introduce some new segments, which I am very, very excited about. One of the segments that I am most excited about that will be coming up is related to this Treit pullover. And soon to my Trinnigan that I'm gonna make at some point, and the shift cowl, and all these other things, which is what I'm gonna do is get other knitters who have knit the same thing as me to come hang out so we can talk to you about it, talk about the differences in our experiences of making it, talk about the modifications we've made, show you what the same pattern in the same or roughly the same size or knit with the same ease, depending, looks like on different bodies. I hope that by doing this, we can make this a more informative and inclusive space that allows you to see the patterns through different eyes. And I really think that there's a need to be discussing popular patterns in a more diverse way. And by diverse, I just mean that more people knitting things, more people talking about knitting things is going to be better, because then we'll have better information to work from. And who doesn't love a good amount of good information, right? So all of that being said, there are some fun new things happening at Get Flocked this week. So don't forget, every Wednesday from 6 till 8, we have our pizza night here at the shop. You're always welcome to come. We also do that once a month online through the Flock online systems. You can come join there and then pop on and knit with us once a month through that, which we would love to have you. The other great thing that is going on is we have custom colors from Hedgehog Fiber. We're almost out of them. I'm so excited. It was super fun to develop them. Working with Hedgehog Fiber is kind of a dream scenario, and dreaming up my own custom color, which is called Unicorn Tears. I should go grab one really quick because there's some right over there. So I'm just gonna grab a skein of yarn. I can still talk because I'm still recording, so I'm just walking to the shop to get this. Oh, I may as well get both colors over here. Working with Hedgehog Fiber to develop these colors was a really cool experience, and something that was quite collaborative. Emily and I both picked a color to develop. Emily is my co-owner, my not just right hand, my other half of my work relationship, and also has a different and completely unique take on knitting. And I think it's really great to have Emily on board. She brings so much more fun and joy to this process than I ever do. I can be quite serious about knitting and quite technical and precise. And it's really good to be reminded on a regular basis that we should be having fun with this. And feeling that translating into what I'm doing and how I'm talking about things, and it's really, really good. Working with somebody who is not the exact same as you is one of the best things. And part of what we've done together is build these 2 custom colors. And when you start in this industry at any place, or when you start in any industry, there's kind of like markers along the way that make you feel like you've made it. It's funny, I own my own yarn shop, and really until these custom colors came in, I still didn't quite feel like I had made it. And now I really feel like I've made it. I don't know how long this yarn shop's gonna last for. I don't know how long this podcast is gonna go on, but I do know that I will have left a mark of permanent colors that exist forever. From a company that I really respect, who I think has done beautiful things over the years. So with all of that said, that was a really long-winded introduction to show you some new yarn. Yay! So these are our custom colors. I think we featured them on the podcast last week as well. If you saw last week's episode, we had the wonderful Katrina from Pearl Foundry. So this is my color. This is Unicorn Tears. I like unicorns. I wouldn't say I love unicorns, but I love the name, and I thought it was kind of funny, and I'd already started designing this colorway for another purpose, and so it was a perfect time to use it to unleash the joy of unicorns for all of you. So Unicorn Tears is mine. It's not subtle, that's for sure. Neither am I though, so checks out. It's bold and bright and fun and punchy and everything you could hope for if you wanted yarn that looked like Ethan. And it's pink. Surprise. We also have Cotton Candy. Cotton Candy is the one we designed for Emily, and Emily came up with this herself. It's really beautiful. It's a soft mixture of gorgeous pastels and blue speckles and like this minty green and a slightly more earthy green, and it's just really gorgeous, and they go really well together, and I'm just really thrilled with what we did, and I hope you guys are too. Custom colors are a unique thing. We're going to eventually have 5, including possibly one that's another collaboration that's also a collaboration. We'll find out about that as we go forward. We'll see what happens. But we're gonna have 5 of them in the end, and these are the first 2. And the custom colors are just a fun chance to play. We love hedgehog fiber. I have a whole bunch of designs coming up in the yarn. I already have a whole bunch of designs in their yarns. I love their colors. That's my main draw. It's not about the bases for me, I'll be honest. It's about the colors. I think they're really special and really cool. They have an interesting way of putting colors together, and I've always loved their work. So this has been really, really fun. We just had our first pop-up at the shop, which was so cool. And Katrina from Pearl Foundry came down. We've got her patterns now in stock as well. So if you're looking for a Pearl Foundry printed pattern, I think we've got almost all of them. And it was really lovely having another designer in for the podcast. It was great to hear about her perspective, how she comes to these ideas, the way that she goes about doing it. And it's so creative for the soul to hear what's going on with other people and what they're doing. I have a design that I'm working on right now. It's actually already fully finished. 2 technically. The Catharsis Pullover, so hopefully that'll be coming your way soon. I need to check in with the yarn company and go over all of that and smooth out those final details. Then last but not least, I have coming up a fingering weight fully seamed pullover that's getting released. It's already been tested, and I just have to knit some samples because I did a thing where I wrote an entire pattern and didn't knit a single stitch, and all my testers have finished and I haven't cast on yet. Rut row. That's a thing that happens with some designers. My process is I like to sit and think, and then I try to design the whole thing, and then I come back and knit it later. And so sometimes my testers beat me to getting things done. It's just the nature of it, but we're gonna get that out shortly, and I can't wait for you to see it. And then I'm gonna be doing some fun colorwork stuff with Spin Cycle in Kashgora. So I hope you're all strapped in and ready for that journey. It's gonna be fun, I think. And kind of colorful, kind of not, just depends on what you're into. You'll be able to customize it and make it your own. So that's the update there. Fun new colors are in. I've got designs on the way. I'm always trying to work hard for you. And I'm gonna come back and hit you with some travel knitting suggestions. And I'm not gonna lie, they're gonna be pretty Spin Cycle heavy, friends. So I'll be right back to talk to you about Spin Cycle and technically my travel knitting. Yikes. So, travel knitting. Is this a thing? Is this not a thing? Do we take specific projects for travel knitting? I have no idea what the rest of you do, so I'm gonna tell you what I do. This might be the worst segment I've ever filmed. If it is, don't tell me. I don't wanna know. I've moved on. So, travel knitting. Apparently I'm just gonna flail this around. Travel knitting is kind of one of those weird things. I love to travel because I love to knit, and traveling and knitting go hand in hand. You're sitting for long periods of time, you're trapped somewhere. Oftentimes, you don't really want to be looking around at what's going on around you. So knitting is the perfect thing to get it done. And here's my thing. I love to knit and I love to travel. And so what do I take when I travel? Usually a jumper, which is insane. And I think I said earlier I was going to take a hat, a cowl, and a shawl, and I lied. I lied to you with my mouth and face. Because I'm going to take a jumper and a cowl and a shawl. And it's not all going to be spin cycle. There's going to be some hedgehog fiber involved too. So I'm going to be working on a design sample for my fingering weight basic pullover. I think I need to change the name before I publish it because the other one's just called the Erin pullover, which is very informative, but not great for the Google searching. So I think that the pullover is going to get a name change to the High Street pullover because I work on High Street and I'm very original with naming things. So High Street's a unisex pullover. I've been working on it for a while. The design's already finished. I'm actually going to knit mine as a cardigan. So I guess it's going to be the High Street cardigan. Oh boy. We'll get there one day. Don't count on it though. So I'm knitting this sample in Park Life, in the hedgehog fiber socks, not for socks base. And then I'm going to do another different cardigan in 2 other bases, also in hedgehog fiber, so it'll be really easy to tell them apart. No, it will, because they're going to be different. I'm in a place where I just want lots of knit flat basics. This might actually be a pullover, not a cardigan, now that I've said that out loud. I think it's going to be a pullover. I think I'm going to knit 2 pullover samples and 1 cardigan. Womp womp. I'll make up my mind eventually. It doesn't matter. I have the yarn and the backs are the same, so I'm going to work on the back. One of the things I like about traveling with a knit flat jumper project is the pieces are relatively small. If you're doing fingering weight, for me, I need averagely 4 skeins, sometimes up to 5, 100 gram skeins, not 50 gram skeins. So I can wind up a couple, chuck them into a knitting bag, and I'm good to go. So again, I'm using Park Life for that. So project suggestion number 1 for travel knitting, I'm going to reverse this order here. I think most knitters would say socks. Socks are great. You need 1 ball of yarn usually for a pair of socks. It's really easy to keep track of. They're small. They don't take a lot of paying attention to if you're just doing a stockinette sock. If you're doing a fancy sock, you might need a chart or something. But if you're just knitting a stockinette sock, all you need is your needles and a sock. Maybe a pattern, but they're usually a page or less. So don't stress about it. Number 2, knit flat jumpers. I think they're great. There's big long stretches where it's just stockinette back and forth. It's really good for traveling if you've got an iPad or something that you're watching things on, depending on how long your traveling is as well. I'm flying to Napier. Let's not make a drama out of this. So it's you're up, you're down. So I just need something to sit and knit on. And this is a great option for me. So that's the thing. Number 3, hats. I love knitting hats. The only thing is with hats, eventually you get to the crown and you either need to be knitting your whole hat on magic loop, exhausting, or option 2, you need to start on 16 inch, 40 centimeter circulars and then transition so you can do the magic loop. It's up to you, knit what you like. I think hats are a great choice, but they can also be a little tedious. I did one on my last trip to Akaroa and back, and it was great. Knit a whole hat on the drive there and back. So would recommend. The next thing that I think is a really good project is the cowl. So I already had this wound, which is why I just pulled it out like that through the magic of television. I'm going to make a new shift cowl, a second shift cowl. Kathy knit this one for me. And I'm actually going to see Kathy this weekend, which is super fun, and my dog Bobo, who's been staying with Kathy for the past several months. If you've been wondering where Bobo is, he is up with Kathy due to living situation complications. Life happens sometimes and we have to make difficult choices, and that's what I did. So super excited to see him and very excited to work on my new shift cowl. So this is Big Sky on Dyed in the Wool. And I love Big Sky. I used it as the background color for my Shiftigan. This shift cowl is to go with my Shiftigan. I'm knitting a coordinating one because I am sane and this is a reasonable decision and I don't care what anyone says. I'm doing what I want. Along with the Big Sky, I'm going to use Shock and Surprise Midsummer, but here's where I'm going a little rogue because it turns out I don't have any more ranunculus. I didn't have any ranunculus when I started. So instead of using ranunculus or Valley Girl, I'm gonna use some Love Spell because I love Love Spell and I think it's so pretty. And look at how pretty I look with Love Spell. And with it, this is my yarn so I can do what I want with it. I'm stroking it against my face because I feel like it. So pretty. So triple whammy on the spin cycle, Midsummer, Love Spell, and Big Sky. They're gonna look great together. I'm very, very excited about this. Next, after I'm done, okay, so this is embarrassing. This has gone to a dark place. After I'm done with that, I'm gonna, very reasonable amount of yarn just came out of this bag. I'm gonna knit myself a NightShift shawl. This is a lot of spin cycle and I get it, but I really want one and I don't care. I honestly just don't care anymore. I'm just gonna knit what I like and enjoy myself because when you do this for a living, it can be really hard to enjoy yourself sometimes. A lot of other people who I see who are podcasting and other stuff like that who do this, they don't necessarily run a yarn shop. It's a bit of a different experience. And finding things to knit that work for your business that you're also really excited about can be hard. And I'm a pattern designer, so I also need to be very mindful about getting my patterns knit and finished on time and taking lots of notes and being really detailed, and frankly, it can get exhausting. And I want to enjoy this. So I am using a collection of colors and Love Spell, which I think I forgot to bring the Love Spell with me. Embarrassing. Again. But I'm using Spin Cycle Dream State to make a NightShift shawl by Andrea Mowry. I'm knitting 2 Andrea Mowry projects. I'm kind of on a big Andrea Mowry kick. I'm getting ready to do a whole series of posts about the world of Andrea Mowry knitting and the sets and the ideas that she plays with and kind of just what do I think makes Andrea tick as a designer, and I'm excited to see what direction that takes me in because I'm always excited by yarn more than anything. The yarn is what excites me. So I'm jumping into this NightShift shawl. It's gonna be big and beautiful and colorful. So for that, I'm gonna use Love Spell. Let's let the dyed in the wool Love Spell stand in. Love Spell. Sunset Strip. Ranunculus, Valley Girl, Midsummer, and Big Sky. Now this isn't an accident. What I'm doing is instead of doing the classic colors, so this is an original shift cowl, I'm knitting a NightShift and a shift cowl that go with my Shiftigan and go with my other knits. So for example, I have another shawl that has Midsummer in it. I also have a beautiful Twigs that has Sunset Strip in it. So I'm trying some orange. Quarantine, if you're watching, I'm giving it a go. We're experimenting with orange. We'll see what happens. I might hate it. Probably hate it. But maybe I'll love it. Maybe I will become an orange person. That's never gonna happen. That was an insane statement, I'm sorry. But we're going to try it out. And that's the play at the moment. So my travel knitting is gonna be a shawl. I like shawls because they're easy to follow. The only thing with shawls is they can get really big really quick and the instructions can be a little long. So I'm hoping that the NightShift instructions aren't crazy long because I'm gonna be doing it from my phone. Ooh, yikes, that's not something I enjoy. And I'm hoping that the shift cowl is easy to follow for the same reason. So hopefully all of you have ideas of what you like to knit for travel knitting. I think the key things here are you want to focus on things where the amount of yarn that you're taking with you is easy to keep inside of your project bag. If you're traveling and intending on purchasing more yarn while you're traveling, then possibly, think about purchasing a project while you're away to cast on and take needles with you. One of my hot tips for travel knitting is definitely my Mindful set. So I have the Believe Mindful set from Knit Pro. This is a cute small one. What's great about these smaller sets is they're easier to get in and out of your bag. So there's also I think it's the Legacy set, I could be wrong, I don't remember very well, from the Lantern Moon set if you prefer wood needles. These ones are stainless steel. And there's the Kindness set, which is the short tip version of this if you're somebody who prefers short tips or if you're an avid hat knitter who's gonna be taking lots of hat knitting traveling. Projects that fit into a project bag, kind of a weird critical thing. But so for example, I have recently knit a bunch of top-down jumpers or bottom-up jumpers that are knit seamlessly. Not so portable, not so great. Not something I would take in the future traveling. I've done it a couple of times before. It's just a bit of a mess. I don't really enjoy it. I'd rather knit flat and seam when I'm traveling, or knit shawls, hats, cowls, knit smaller things that are easier to fit in. I would say take things that are relaxing. Vacation might not be the place to do, you know, an Alice Starmore cabled Wonderland. It might be a place to do a simple blippy cowl, you know, even more than a blippy cowl, maybe just some stockinette. Can't really go wrong with stuff like that. So keep it simple, keep it light, keep it enjoyable. So little roundup of the tips. Small needle set that are easy to take with you. Projects that are easy to manage and fit into a project bag. Fun things. Knit fun things while you're traveling. Don't knit serious things. I mean, if serious knitting is your jam, knit serious things. But if not, knit something fun. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. You're on vacation. The calories don't count. Neither does the knitting. I hope you guys have a wonderful time while I'm away. I will see you back on Wednesday night for our online knit night, and possibly so that I can order the pizza before I go. Okay. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.